Meal times are a much anticipated break in a workday. For some of us, be it a work schedule or shortages, such breaks do not exist. This is Feast or Famine.
I felt like more oftentimes it was famine than feast, but I guess when you did eat, you ate pretty well. At least for some of the places that I went to, you definitely ate really well. But there were a couple of trips in there where it was pretty rough.
I can feel that to such a degree because I guess what a lot of laws and regulations are trying to say is like you just gotta get afforded the opportunity to take a break, to take a breather, and to eat because you will probably die. But I think it's more like we just have to give you the opportunity to do it, not so much eat. A funny story about the whole eating thing and how I kind of understood it as it's just an opportunity. It's not really meant to have you eat a meal. Was in boot camp, we had one guy who snuck in a packet of peanut butter, not any type of food, just a fucking little ketchup packet worth of peanut butter. And the drill instructors found it and fucking flipped their damn wigs, like fucking lost their shit, right? And then the senior drill instructor says, "Okay, no harm, no foul, whatever." Has us all ready to go to breakfast. Tells us just have whatever you want, put whatever on your tray, do it, have whatever it is you want. And this blew our fucking minds because we weren't allowed to eat anything that wasn't outside of the main course, which was probably like pancakes, eggs, maybe a couple strips of bacon, whatever. But he said grab everything. So we're getting cereal, we're getting cinnamon rolls, we're getting all kinds of desserty sweet shit, right? And then so we get to the tables and he just tells us to stare at it. They don't touch it, don't look at, don't do anything else but just stare at it. So there we are staring at it for 20 solid minutes. That's all we fucking did was just stare at it. And then after 20 minutes, we got up and threw it all away.
Oh,
and then,
that sucks.
and then after we threw it all away, we took a trip to a sand pit, and then we got pretty much hazed for the next 2 hours.
That sucks. All because one guy snuck in a packet of peanut butter.
Yeah, all because one guy snuck a packet of peanut butter. And then that's when we found out that we're not meant to eat. We're just meant to have the opportunity to do so.
They just wanted to show you that food was available. It wasn't available for you, but it was available.
Right. And so from that point on, anytime when there was an opportunity to eat food, I'm taking it, because at any given moment that quote unquote opportunity goes away, as many of us have realized in our work life.
How did they find the packet of peanut butter?
Every night they have like what's called a hygiene inspection, where they check you all from head to toe to see if there's any bruises, anything's broken. And then they do it under the disguise that we're here to see that you guys know how to clean yourself, right? Like cut your nails, shower correctly and all that. But it's really just a cover for them to make sure that you're not hurt or anything. And then it was like the Full Metal Jacket movie where someone had his Foot Locker unlocked. And that whole scene played out almost verbatim how that movie went. Like, what the fuck is this? If there's anything in this world I hate, it is an unlocked Foot Locker. And then that's when the whole shenanigans happen. They open everything up, they dump it all out, and then out pops the fucking little ketchup packet of peanut butter. Like, son of a bitch.
That sucks. And then so after you guys got hazed, did you haze the perpetrator, the peanut butter perpetrator? When you got back to the barracks?
Oh yes. But it wasn't like the Gomer Pyle movie with socks and soap, It was,
sure, yeah.
It was more like verbal beration than anything, because things have changed a lot since that Gomer Pyle movie to the time I went.
Oh yeah, you definitely can't be as aggressive, I would say, anymore.
And especially there, like they make it such a big deal, especially nowadays, that if I were to raise my hand at somebody or even put my hands on somebody, you're getting the full ringer of legal matters, which is why like we pretty much resorted to verbally berating them for the almost the entirety of, of the rest of the time we were there. Like, you piece of shit, how dare you? At least fucking eat it before and not have it in your Foot Locker, you fucking idiot.
Wow, that's crazy. I can't imagine. I never went through boot camp, but I can imagine the hatred one might have for somebody else if they if you got smoked for them having some peanut butter.
Right? Yeah. We all know how cranky we all can get, right? When we're hungry.
Hangry?
Hangry, yes.
So I'm not one of those hangry people, and so I kind of struggle with understanding people who do get hangry, like they can't control their emotions when they're hungry. I don't get that way. So for me, I don't understand it. I'm like, fix yourself. You control your emotions. Like if you can't control yourself because you're hungry, fucking eat. Eat something. Shut the fuck up and leave me alone. But I shut down. Like I just get real low energy, and I just kind of get quiet. So I'm the other side of the spectrum on that.
Well,
but I know on one trip, the supply line got cut off for some reason. I remember we had just 2 cans of chicken noodle soup a day for I can't remember how long. That's all we had. That was I lost a lot of weight on that trip. That wasn't a good healthy weight loss. I think that's when I first developed acid reflux.
Ooh.
Yeah. I never had it in my life until I got back from then, and in the middle of the night I would just wake up with acid reflux. But prior to that, you say feast or famine, man, prior to that supply line getting cut off, God, we ate good. We had he was an actual Le Cordon Bleu chef. He was a prior Navy, got out of the Navy, went to Le Cordon Bleu, got his, whatever certifications through that. And he was really good. He could make awesome meals out of nothing, and we ate really good. But then, like I said, that got cut off, and then the famine ensued. And then like even the snack shelves, right? You guys probably had like in your area of operations, same for us. We had like a whole shelf full of snacks, like you name it, like almost every type of candy bar you could imagine, Skittles, Pop Tarts, you name it, it was there. And so during the feast times, that was just a random snack or a treat or whatever else, But during the famine times, that became a meal. Like peanut M&Ms became a meal.
Yeah,
I need the protein from the peanuts.
Or what was that one? There was a candy bar specifically that went out like almost all the time. It was like all peanuts. What was it?
Payday? Was it
Payday? Yeah, Payday.
Yeah,
Payday would go away quick, and I don't know what it was. Maybe it's because it was peanuts, or the fact that it gives you like a little bit of the protein plus the sugar rush. But those went away quick. Like that and Snickers always goes away. Like
Snickers, Almond Joys, surprisingly too.
Really?
Almond Joys were, well, at least where I was at. Like I can think of one trip in particular where, like, you're like, man, everybody wanted the Almond Joys, including myself, and I was like, I don't know why this tastes so good, but I want one. But it tasted good to everybody. You know what I mean? So like, it was hard to find them.
I had a similar but opposite experience where like I was the only one who liked Almond Joys. Everyone else around me like hated it. I guess it was because of the coconut and the fact that it was in the heat for X amount of time.
Oh yeah, but those are pretty rough to eat if they get warm.
But like, I was the only one who would eat them, so like I would have like this giant stash of Almond Joys, and like everyone would be like complaining about being starving and shit. Like I don't know what you're talking about, man. There's like a whole shelf's worth of Almond Joy you guys can shut yourself up with. Like, yeah, but I don't fucking like Almond Joy. Like, guess you ain't starving then, because
yeah, you're not hungry enough. That's for sure.
You're definitely not hungry enough. Going back to what you were saying about like having that Le Cordon Bleu chef. I was in an area where the food wasn't short, but it wasn't great. It was one of those like add water and stir kind of meals.
Like the cup of noodles or whatever.
Yeah, but it was like bulk. Picture that, but in bulk. Like so, like a 3-gallon can of or chicken noodle soup.
Well, I'm just picturing the cholesterol in that thing.
It sounds gross already, right? And we had a small group of Australians in the same area as us, and those guys ate bougie, fucking bougie. They would have like grills and hot plates and all this, and they'll have like no kidding, like a whole team of chefs, like I think 3 or 4 chefs, just cooking constantly. Here we are with our fucking add water and stir goop, and then here we can smell all the sweet awesomeness from the bougie Australian tent. We're like, oh my god.
Yeah. Yep. I know what you're talking about. You're like, how come they get to eat so good?
Yeah,
You know what?
right?
You know what seemed to be the worst is on NATO bases. But being an American on a NATO base, like you would see how the other countries are eating, and you're like, oh, they're eating really good. Can I have what they're having? No,
Yeah.
you can have this food left over from Vietnam. You can have these 3-pound pack of cup of noodles, or it's fried everything. Like that's your options. You're like, but they're having a turducken. Like, can I get some of that?
Yeah. Or like once in a while, we'll give you a real treat. We'll use real eggs.
Oh yeah,
real
eggs. Yeah, real eggs.
Oh my
What a
god.
treat.
But then like the ham they give you with is just like diced up Lunchable squares or whatever.
Oh yeah, uber processed. Yeah, that's another thing, right? So everybody else is eating fresh, brought in. I'm like, wait, if their supply lines bringing that kind of stuff in, what's happening to my supply line here? Like, how come everything I get's like super processed?
Right. It lasts longer.
I want you to go fight on high sodium and processed meats.
Right. And sometimes the Australian group would feel sorry for us. And they'll give us their leftovers. Like we're a bunch of stray dogs just like waiting outside for them to toss us the food. Like, here you go, mate. Just
what's that movie? Please, sir, can I have some more?
Oliver Twist.
Yeah.
No soup for you.
And we'll be so happy, like, oh my god, free food! Or like,
oh my
real
god, thank
food.
you, sir. And it's like you can see the teeth marks where somebody bit into it. You know, it's
Worth
like legit scraps, and you're like, oh my god, thank you.
It's like worth it, still worth it.
Master gave Dobby a sock.
And that's how I feel, like I am free. I'm gonna eat so good tonight. You take the little, like the half-eaten scrap, and you have like this plastic fork, and just like eat it like real nice, just to really take it in.
Yeah, you're actually taking a paper napkin and tucking it into your the collar of your shirt like a bib. You know, like a fancy, like you're eating at a fancy restaurant.
Yep. We're in the field. This is fancy.
Now I know. How many times did you eat out of a styrofoam container?
Oh, dude, almost all the time. If it wasn't like some kind of cup, then it was a styrofoam box. You know what I mean?
Yep. That's why, and oftentimes, like your ops tempo wouldn't allow you to even go to the DFAC and eat. So you would send one person on a run to the DFAC, and they would just go down the line with they would have like 10 boxes, right? But they would go down the line and just load up as much as they could into one box, because you're not going to sit there, okay, I only want this, and do that for 10 people. You don't have the time nor the patience for that.
Right.
So you're just going through and you're just going to load in there everything that's on the line, close the box, and do that 9 more times, and then run back, and then people can eat out of it what they want to eat out of it and throw away the rest. But it'd be so many times you'd be standing on the line and, you know, aircraft taxiing in or out, and you're just sitting there hammering food in your face before right. You got to get back to work, you know?
Yeah. We had a similar situation where you would have a runner, but you'll have a golf cart. Well, not a golf cart. I would say more like a 4-wheeled Mario Kart. You know, it's like this ghetto rigged Mario Kart where we took out it was pretty much like 4 wheels and a seat. And then we just kind of made this box and stuck it in the back, and that was like a makeshift truck bed. Whatever it worked. And then we would just like load up as much food as we could in this truck bed and like strap it down so it doesn't fly away. Whatever, man. Adapt and overcome.
Or you'd be like a dust storm, right? And you're bringing your food back, and you open up and you can see like the dirt laying on top of the food, even though it was in a styrofoam box. And you're like, you just kind of stir around the food a little bit to just mix in the dirt so you can't actually really see it anymore. And you're just like, whatever. And you just keep eating it anyways.
Right. Or if you
just gotta add some minerals to my diet.
Or have you guys ever gotten so hungry that you didn't care if your hands were dirty, like, or whatever condition it was in? It'd be like covered in grease, whatever have yous of your job. And just like, fuck it, I'm hungry, and just eat it as is.
Dude, I've done it. So, you know, if you're looking at your fingers, and more often than not as a maintainer, you're using like your pointer finger and your thumbs, right? So those are always the dirtiest. Then your middle finger is typically the next dirtiest. So I've eaten before where it's my pinky fingers and ring fingers, and I'll like chopstick it with those two and pick it up and shove it in my mouth because those are the least dirty. It's like some Spock, the live long and prosper thing. It's like that, but I'm doing that with my two fingers like chopsticks because those are the least dirty.
I'm picturing that right now. Like you're doing like some shadow puppet shit.
That's exactly what it is. Like and I did it so much that it's a natural motion now. Well, at least I know I could lose my middle pointer and thumb fingers and still be able to survive.
That was a movie, wasn't it? It was a Johnny Knoxville movie. One of his gardeners, whatever, lost his fingers from a lawnmower, and he only had his thumb and his
The Ringer.
Yes, the Ringer. He only had
His gardener's name was Stabby.
Stabby. Yeah, Stabby. All he had was like his thumb and his pinky, so he made like this. It's like at least, but he was so optimistic about it. It's like at least I'll be able to delicately pick the tulips.
That is a movie that could not be made today.
Yeah.
I only saw the first half of it, but I agree with that statement. Yeah, you couldn't make that today without any. I mean, there'd be so much negative backlash.
Oh yeah,
it'd be horrendous.
How many of you have seen or know of this one person who has a knife, always carries a knife, and he uses it for basically everything? Like,
yep.
It's a knife that doubles as a hammer, doubles as a screwdriver, doubles as like a butter knife for spreading.
Yeah, cuts meat with it, peels an apple,
right? Or strips wires with it. Just like has all kinds of shit on it. You get one guy who just has like that one Gerber knife, that one Leatherman or whatever have you, Huntsman or Smith and Wesson, whatever the hell, and he uses it for everything.
I guess the ones I always saw a lot of was there was either Gerber or it was Leatherman. I think that was the most that people carried, and the Leatherman just because it was for the pliers aspect of it alone. I think is why, because I carried one of those too, and we had the knife blade, for whatever, but I think I used the pliers the most on that. Because I would pop fuel hatches with that. I would tighten down stuff, cut zip ties, cut whatever, It was just instead of running 50 yards back to the hangar, I would just use it. An approved tool? No, but in a deployed setting, who's gonna check?
Right. But and the MVP you mentioned at your work of AOG, you guys do a lot of corporate jet work and stuff. Has there been times where like you would work on the corporate jets and you would just have like these fucking bougie ass banquet fucking meals?
You would think, but no, not at all. It was those were probably more of the famine times than it was in the deployed settings because stateside nobody gives a damn about you out there on the ramp at 3 a.m. So it's on you. So if you didn't bring food along with you, so I got good at packing a cooler with at least some like jerky and maybe some bottles of water and iced coffees or whatever else, but and pistachios, nuts, whatever, just stuff to snack on because you're on the road a lot. But again, you find yourselves in those times you're like, man, I'm kind of hungry, but I got to keep working. Next thing you know, it's middle of the night and there's, you're lucky if you're in a town where there might be a diner open, or even like a Denny's or something like that might be open in the middle of the night. But oftentimes, that's not the case. So, if you don't bring it with you, you're not going to eat, you're not going to drink. So it's, I went hungry a lot more times on the AOG side of things than I didn't. Sometimes you would, they have snacks on board those private jets though. And so sometimes you would try to rifle through the galley and see if there was some like excess bag of pretzels or something like that buried down. And obviously you're not going to take it from the cubbies where the passengers are riding, but maybe buried in the galley where they have some excess, or in the baggage bay, they keep some excess stuff back there. So the Swedish fish were my favorite. But yeah, it's crazy. And then, being in deployed settings or maybe even stateside, I don't know if you guys ever had to deal with animals in your food, but our ops tempo, we were at one location and our ops tempo picked up enough to where we couldn't leave and go to the DFAC because it was a NATO base, but it was a pretty large base. So and we were a small operation. I think we were 2 or 3 per shift, per 12-hour shift. And so we couldn't afford to send one person away to go get food and bring it back anymore. So what the local command decided they were going to do is, okay, well, we're going to have one of the DFACs deliver food to us, and we'll turn one of these shacks in the back into the food tent, and you guys can just walk in there. But they'll have like these big plastic, you probably remember them, 6 of these big plastic containers, and you open it up and there's like 4 or 5 shelves of the big aluminum foil trays, or the big metal pan trays, loaded with slop, essentially.
Slop, yeah. That's pretty accurate.
But so you would get guys that would go in there, right? And they would, pull out a tray, put food, but then they wouldn't put it back. They would just leave it open or leave it sitting exposed on the table.
Yeah.
So it would either be, 1, it would be cold, or 2, they wouldn't close the door to the tent, and there was a bunch of feral cats running around. And I remember the one time I went in there and there was like 3 cats pawing through the food. And I was just like, come on, man. Like, and I was super hungry. That was one of those days where you're like super hungry too. And you're just like, you're so mad, disappointed, angry, whatever. And you're just like, throw down your plate and fork and you're like, I'm not even going to eat today. To hell with this crap.
Right.
I hate it here. And then you send it, go back to your room and send an email home to family. Like, please send me a care package, food only.
Oh, speaking of that, man, I remember getting packages of food, and that, like, it was like a godsend. Like, this is the best bag of pistachios ever.
Dude, I know. I got a bag. My dad would send me some bags of jerky and stuff, and man, that was a godsend too. And then my mom would send me what she makes. They're called O. Henry bars, but it's like the base layer is like peanut butter and like maybe oats and something else, and then the top 1/4-inch layer is chocolate. And oh my God, they're so good. And they only come, she only makes them at Christmas time. But when I was deploying, she would make them and send them over. And man, you would just sit there and eat yourself sick on those. But you were so happy to have something to eat.
Right. Like, have you guys ever been so food deprived or starved that like the smallest, most mundane piece of food was like the shit, like the best ever? Like, say like you're going on a hike, for instance, or you've been pulling like a 20-hour shift and you haven't eaten shit, and someone just like happens to give you like an orange, right? Just like a fucking orange. And you're like, oh my God, this is like the greatest ever. As soon as you feel the splash from your teeth crunching into it, like, this is so awesome.
I remember one of those days where for me, it was like smokehouse almonds. It was came in those like tiny cans, the small cans. And I remember I got back to my room and I was like, my God, I'm so hungry, but I'm so tired. And I just popped the top of that and I threw like a handful in, and I don't know why, but they just tasted phenomenal.
Right.
It's not like I go for those every time. I don't eat them now. And that was probably the last time that I ever even had smokehouse almonds. But man, in that one instance, they were what I needed, I guess.
Right. Or you're starving really bad when black coffee tastes fucking amazing.
Oh,
like,
the DFAC black coffee. Yeah. When that tastes good. Yeah. You're having
it's like, you
like you almost have a mental breakdown. 1, because you can't believe that coffee tastes good. And 2, because you can't believe that coffee tastes good. Like, you just know, it's like, oh my God, is this where I'm at in life?
Right. It's like the instant taster's choice coffee, or like some off-brand like instant coffee, but it's just freaking amazing because that's all that's available for your system to digest. I'm like, this is fucking great.
Or like when you go in, you go into the DVAC and you see them scraping the bottom of the massive, because they had those massive coffee pots or whatever, those brewers, but they were like the 10-gallon tanks, and you would see the DFAC personnel like scraping the burnt coffee off the bottom of the tank. They never emptied it out. They just would scrape it, and then they would pour in more water and turn it on. And you're like, oh, it's going to be rough today. But you drink it anyways.
Right.
Like, there ain't enough sugar in half in the world to make this better, but I'm going to try.
Right. In your freaking coffee cup that you haven't washed out in so long because you haven't had enough time to actually clean it out.
Oh man, I became a hated person one time because nobody wanted the DFAT coffee. So one of the pilots or somebody. I ordered like a small 12-cup coffee pot and had it shipped over. And then we ordered like some Seattle's Best. We ordered some Pete's. We ordered some, I think somebody brought Starbucks. Somebody brought, just different brands of coffee, but good quality coffee, not some low end stuff. And
Yeah.
I remember I pulled the coffee pot out one night and it slipped out of my hand and it burst on the floor.
Oh.
And everybody, it was a full pot of coffee, and everybody just turned and looked at me like you just ruined the whole deployment. And if it was legal to murder you, you'd be dead. Because that coffee was a life force, man. And we were working the midnight to noon shift, and so coffee was a staple of life for us. And they just looked at me like, "You're the worst. You are the worst person that to ever walk the planet." And I was like, I'm sorry. And I went and like jumped online to like try to find a replacement coffee pot. But I mean, it still took over a month to get a replacement coffee pot there. And I was not a well-liked guy.
way to just bah humbug everything,
Yeah. Oh man. I was like, I'm so sorry, everybody. And they're like, no, it's not enough.
No.
Take your own life if you want to make it right.
Unforgivable.
Hang him.
Charlotte, I can imagine what it's like for you guys, especially when you have like back-to-back shows and you're like, I don't know, 3-4 people teams, and you got to do a 20-man show with 5 people.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely similar situations, right? It's feast or famine. I work a lot in, as I've mentioned before, casinos. There's usually a few different ways this works. So sometimes they have catering just for the show crew, like where we have they'll make like sandwich trays and stuff like that. So we'll eat on that all day, all night. And then there's also the voucher situation, which I've had some that are like, you have 4 people, here's $12 to feed all of you. And then I've had others that are like, oh, there's 4 of you, we'll give you $250 each. And so it's in that case, it's feast or famine as well. But then we were about to get that privilege taken away, the $250 per person thing, which we never used all of. We just physically can't eat that much food because we certain members of the team, not including myself, weren't tipping, and it's like, you're already getting your food for free. Like don't make them work for free too, And then, but I've also had it where we get the same catering as the band. That is amazing. In one of the casinos, it was cool. Go to the band's trailer. They want to eat with you guys. And so we'd eat with the band or the crew or both. So that was cool. And that same casino stopped doing that for the most part, unless the crew asked to eat with us, basically. So when we don't eat with them, we end up, they have like their own cafeteria that's underground under the casino. And it's really cool because, it's a full blown restaurant just for their employees. There's no patrons. There's no nothing. It's literally just for the employees, and it's cheaper food. It's not the best. The wait times are usually pretty long, but in my line of work, if we've done everything right, we generally have a few hours of just chill, before the kind of the calm before the storm type of thing. So, and then there's other times when it's, nope, you're working 20 plus hours straight. So yeah, I can definitely relate to the feast or famine mentality.
I like how you mentioned, like, there are times when you just have like a gap of doing nothing. There's times like that where we would have that, but we mostly use that to kind of catch up on Z's, especially if we're been on the go for X amount of time, and not one of us will even closely think of food, and it won't hit until after you got to get back into the grind and like, I should have fucking ate.
Yeah, man, I can relate to that too. Because I remember this one show in particular. It's one of our biggest productions we do every year, and I was sitting there, and me and my buddy Oz were tuning the room and getting everything ready, and I was getting wireless ready, and which is a pain in the ass to coordinate in Seattle, wireless frequencies. But sitting there, and it's like 5:30 in the morning. And I'd been working since, 6 o'clock the the day before, or
Jesus.
so I'd been working for almost 24 hours straight, and so then I'm like, fuck it, I guess I'll just try to sleep. So I go upstairs and get locked out of my hotel room. The key's not working, so I'm like, fuck. Whatever. I will just, because I didn't want to deal with the front desk thing because it's under the owner's name, and they're going to question that. And so I was like, fuck it, whatever. So I went back to the stage, grabbed one of my subwoofer bags, and tried to make a bed out of that. Slept for 20 minutes, and they started bringing in tables and chairs. So then I was like, fuck it, guess I'm up. Guess I'm working.
Shit.
So then I continued to work for another 20 plus hours.
Jeebus.
Yeah. And I think I ate twice that entire 40 something hours.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Man.
I've lived off of mints inside of FBOs before.
I know what you mean.
Mints and the free coffee, like
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, have you guys ever came into a situation where like you would have either snacks, energy drinks, coffee cups, or just something like food related, and you start turning that into currency?
Rippets, man.
Oh,
If anybody out there
Rippets.
has ever spent any time overseas, you know what a rippet is.
Fucking Rippets.
And the red ones. The red ones,
yeah.
were high dollar currency, man.
Hell yeah. I remember it was the yellow ones and the blue ones that were like a dime a dozen. Like they fall out of
the yellows were super common, I felt like. They were
The
like
blue
pennies.
the blue ones too, because I think the blue ones were sugar free, so like nobody wanted that shit. We're like, I need the sugar.
Yeah. What was the point of me drinking this?
Right. But you did it anyway because it gave you that one little bit of life,
Yep, that's exactly it. Skittles were currency for me for a little bit because I got a 3-pound bag at like the Costco size Skittles. I got one of those, so those became currency. Jerky was always currency for some reason or other.
There was instant coffee packets, the jerky, the Rippets, all clearly, and then pinches of dip, like not cans, just like a pinch, right? It was
Yeah.
It was almost like cigarettes, but like, hey man, but they'll have like their own code word for it, like, hey man, you got some good breakfast today, and like three Rippets or some other fucking
3
bartering
Rippets
system,
and a pinch of Copenhagen.
right? Oh, come on, man, I really need it. It starts turning into like a crack addict.
I'm telling you, like people with cigarettes that way, you'd be getting ready to come overseas, and some of the guys who were already there knew you were coming, and you would get like emails with like a list of stuff like, hey, can you mind bringing this? You mind bringing that? So like I would stop at the duty free exchanges on the way over.
Yeah.
And I would buy like cartons and cartons of cigarettes and logs, snuff logs,
Yeah.
And then you show up on site, and then you basically open your bag and like, who wants me? Who wants me?
Who wants me?
Yeah, man, because those were like the biggest bartering cigarettes and snuff.
It is like prison.
Pretty much, yeah, it's pretty much.
Or like you get like these packages of like Skittles, jerky, etc. And it'll be the same thing, like who loves me? Who loves me? And everyone's like just crowding around. Like every time someone open a box or even pop open a bag of chips, and like everyone's like hovers, like mine.
Yeah, like all the seagulls from Finding Nemo. Mine. That was the thing. If like you got a care package in, but you left it sitting on even if the box wasn't fully open, and it could even still be taped shut from shipping, and you left it sitting on the desk, in the office or whatever, because you were still on shift.
Yeah.
You would come back, and that thing would be raided. Rifled through, just and that would piss you off to knowing, because like, come on, I didn't even get to go through it first. Damn it.
Right. So they'll turn into like these unspoken snack rules kind of shit, right? Like thou shalt not raid chips unless it's already open or some shit like that.
we had to make up we put another table in the office, and that was the charity table, right? And so whatever you didn't want, whatever was for the group, if it was on that table, it was fair game. If it wasn't on that table, you weren't allowed to touch it.
That's where we had a similar table, but that's where you would see who was a stoner in their previous life. Because all like the chips and snacks that no one really liked, like Funyuns or Fritos or some just
Bugles. Guys remember
Bugles? Bugles, yeah, the Bugles. Like almost nobody likes that shit in a non-starving environment. But you have that out there, you'll find out who used to do drugs in their previous life, because that shit would be fucking gone.
Gone, yeah. I mean, in one setting, one dude would just eat them alone.
Hungry, happy, sleepy. That's
Did you guys ever get the Magnum bars? Those ice cream bars? Did you guys ever get those?
I don't think, you know what? I'm not sure if I have.
So we had a couple of places we went to, and we had a cooler full of Magnum bars, and you could definitely do some bartering with like the next site over with some Magnum bars. Like, hey, you guys got any more cutting oil, or you guys got any more whatever? Yeah, but what do you guys got? I got 3 boxes of Magnum bars for you. You can take all the cutting oil you want, man. Just bring that shit over.
or like packs of soda. You guys ever done that with packs of soda?
Yeah. Yep.
Like I got some Coke, man. Like a 6-pack of Coca-Cola. You know what I mean? Not even like huge. It was like just a 6-pack. Like done.
Or remember overseas, a lot of times, because they would bring in like supplies from like European countries or whatever, so they have smaller sizes of everything.
Right.
Like, hey, I got the American size cans of Coke. You do? A whole 12-ounce can?
Yeah.
Yo, bring it.
So, off topic, there's a scene in Major Payne, right, where he shows like how BA he is. He pops open a soda can or a Minute Maid can with his fingers. The European cans, they're pull tabs or they're peel tabs instead of like the
pop tabs like we have
the
here.
pop tabs in the US. So it's a lot easier for you to pop them open. So here's stupid ass me, right? I'm like tired, I'm hungry. Fuck it. Major Payne style, kill, right? And actually popped it open, the peel tab. But the holes are a lot smaller than they would on the US pop tabs. So it went through, but it cut the shit out of my fingers.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, it's like a teardrop. It's a more narrow, but it's like a teardrop shape. And you'll definitely cut the crap out of your fingers.
Yeah, which I totally did. Stupid me, but I was like, what is this? What does work? The shit you do when you're hungry, you know, that's when you start getting people to do dares. Like, yo, if you do this, give you a Snickers bar. Ooh.
I got it. So one of the guys was back to the cigarettes thing. I showed up overseas and I had like, I don't know, probably 8 cartons of cigarettes that I bought to hand out to people. But one of my good buddies in general, he was a heavy smoker, and I was bringing majority of them for him because I know he was running low. And I said, hey, I'll give you an extra carton, but you got to take 10 of these cigarettes and smoke them at one time. Because I'd never seen that happen before, except in the cartoons. And old Fred, we'll call him. Fred, he's like, I don't know how I'm going to fit 10 in my mouth. And I was like, oh, well, where there's a will, there's a way. So I took some tape, like that blue flash breaker tape.
Yeah.
And I taped 10 of them together in like a cylindrical shape.
Yeah.
We lit him on fire. And it was in the middle of the night. He's standing out there and you couldn't even see him. It was so dark. You couldn't see us standing, but you would just see this big cherry just glowing in the dark. Oh, he couldn't talk for 3 days.
You know, now that you mentioned that was actually a punishment one of my grandfathers did to my uncles, because he caught him smoking when I think he was like 15 or something like that. Caught him smoking, like, good, you want to be stupid and smoke? You want to smoke in my house? He was real avid about not smoking inside the house. He doesn't really care outside, but inside. And so he tried to be slick about it and do it in his room.
Mm-hmm.
So he did something similar where he said, well, smoke them all. And then, but these were like the Marlboro Reds, right? So like the ones that just really
unfiltered and all that stuff.
Unfiltered, just hit your chest like right away, you know? So picture like 15-year-old kid smoking like a whole pack of Marlboro Reds in one shot, you know? Could imagine.
God, that'd have been rough.
So what were some of we were talking about starving a lot. What were some of the best meals you guys got while on the job?
Ooh, I would say, I'm not going to say what crew it was that I was working with, but we had this whole trailer was full of, I mean, freshly cooked chicken, everything from thighs, breasts, everything, whole chickens, steaks. We had burgers. We had literally any type of like full course that you could think of. We had it. Mashed potatoes, all the sides, salads. We had everything. I mean, we had, those 6-foot folding tables. There was probably about 7, 8, 9 of them that were just full of food.
Wow.
And it wasn't a very large crew on our end, and they had probably, if I had to guess, because it's been forever now, no more than 6, 7 people on their crew.
Wow.
You know, so it's just like all of this food.
Did you take some home for the fam?
No, unfortunately not, because that was pre-show food. So then it was, you know, go and do the show and then load out. And by the time you're done, there's no, I mean, all that food's been gone for hours. So
For me, it would have been, I don't know if it was filet mignon, but I'll attribute it to that. I mean, it was wrapped in bacon. And then we had scallops, like buttered scallops with it, and homemade like garlic mashed potatoes. And that was probably one of the best meals that I can think of right now. I probably had some other good ones too, but that's the first one that pops to mind for me. Thinking back to my days.
So I think one of the best ones I got, we were doing a job out in Darwin, Australia, and we were at the Royal Air Force Base in Darwin, and it was one of their holidays, Anzac Day it was called. I can't remember the full acronym of Anzac Day, but like a bunch of people were dressed up in their grandparents' World War II uniforms and such, had their medals and everything, and they had this caterer come in, had a spread out, and one of the options was this Australian Wagyu, but it was like a New York strip size, I guess. But they had enough for pretty much everybody. So here we go, get this Australian Wagyu with some potatoes and blue cheese on the side and stuff like that. I swear, like as soon as I bit into it, freaking just like an explosion of like flavor, juice, and everything. Like everything you would expect from a steak times like 10.
It does sound good.
And then since then, you know, like the food level just kind of went to shit. I don't know if it's because my standards got raised or they lowered their standards, but it was fucking great.
I know for one of the worst meals I had was at least when I found those cats pawing through the food. But there was another time like we had fried stuff and no veggies for the longest time. And finally, like a shipment of veggies came in. And you know how sometimes you're just like, man, I need some greens. And I remember going in there and then I was like, oh, cool, I'm going to load up on some greens. And there was these little black insects crawling all in and around the food. And it just broke my heart. I was like,
hell no.
People were like, just eat the bugs. They're protein. I was like, I don't know what kind of bugs these are though.
Yeah.
I'm in a foreign country. I don't know what these are. You know, I'm not gonna just.
Yeah, now that you mention it, we were passing by a Southeast Asian country. I can't remember which one, but one of their delicacies was like bugs, right? They'll get like a no shit log, split it, and the bugs are still kicking. You just grab it and then rip it, you know? And
really?
Yeah.
Like how big were the bugs?
About the size of a grasshopper.
Oh,
like or a cricket. It's about the size of a cricket.
Still
right?
Decent size, yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty decent. Like it's enough to gross you out, right? So, but they get the log, they split it, they get it, and then they smash it down, right? This one individual, what a time to find out that you're allergic to something. Is like, take this this tree cricket, wherever the fuck it was, right? Like, okay, eats it, goes into anaphylactic shock like immediately, like, oh my god,
wow,
right?
Yeah, what a time to figure out that you're allergic to an insect.
Right? Like, oh, hey, by the way, tree crickets will kill you. Like,
I guess, but yeah, if you're not from that environment, that would have never even been a concern because when would you have eaten a bug otherwise?
I mean, like, what other types of food would you have tried in any other country's regional delicacy? Would you know that I'm allergic to this? You say you've never tried this in your life. I'm like, well, I try everything once at least, and then you find out you're allergic.
Yeah, you're just trying to be adventurous and almost kill yourself. Oh.
No, I will tell you, probably one of the most, not the most weird, but surprisingly good things I've tried was saltwater crocodiles. There was this one place, I think it was either Australia or somewhere near Australia, but they made saltwater crocodile burgers.
Oh, interesting.
And so like when you start thinking of crocodiles, you would think like, okay, it's got to taste like fish, but it looks like chicken.
Yeah, to me, it has the texture of chicken as well.
Yeah,
whenever I had gator,
it looks like chicken, but it tastes like steak, but it's kind of watery like fish. I'm like, what the? I am so confused right now.
What am I eating? When you were in Australia, did you ever try kangaroo? I've heard people.
I have not.
You can eat.
I have. You
I heard
can.
it's real like stringy.
I did not try
because that's such a muscular animal.
Yeah. So I not kangaroo, but I tried wallaby, which I guess it's kind of sort of the same thing.
Cousin, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what it was, man, but it tasted fucking gross. Like maybe it was the way they cooked it, or maybe it was the fact that it was tasted really gamey. Like picture like untrimmed venison. That's kind of what it tasted like.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So like for me, when I think of like goat is not something that I go for. I mean, I'm sure if it's prepared a certain way and done right, it's okay. But to me, it tastes like the animal smells, and I can't get past that. Same thing for like goat cheese. You know, I'm like,
but then all the cheese you had, like when you're over like Kuwait and shit, that's all goat cheese, but they don't tell you that. I'm like, whatever.
Why that's what I'm saying. Like certain ways it's prepared, it's okay. But like, there's been a lot of places I've been to where it tastes like the animal smells, and it's like feels like when you eat it, it feels like you're licking the animal, and I just I can't
literally kissing a goat.
I don't know
why. Oh shit! Closing thoughts, MVP.
Feast or famine. Enjoy the time when you can eat good food. Because you'll definitely appreciate that during the times you can't. So take advantage of all the opportunities you have, and try to eat as well as possible. But don't be afraid to try new things. You know, you just be careful because you might die.
Yeah, you might find out you're allergic to tree crickets. Like MVP said, man, like. Eat what you can when you can because you can. As much as possible, try to eat a little more healthy. But I mean, if your only option is just to eat payday candy bars, I mean, by all means, do it. Or a giant bag of M&Ms, whichever. It's better than going full speed on fumes. Just no way around it.
Yeah, you'll be surprised at what the human body can sustain itself off of for a period of time.
There's your Navy SEAL tip of the day, everybody. We'd like to thank our patrons for helping us make this episode, keep our gear maintained, and have Shoreline ever the happy to help us produce these episodes. Erica Lamont, Chris Hawkins, Stephanie Boatman, Jenny Dignan, Ryan Frushauer, Daniel Schubert, and Steven Shivers. Thank you guys so much. And thank you again to all our patrons for helping us make these episodes and keep Shoreline happy to produce them for us. Visit us at cancelformaintenance.com if you have any ideas for the show, some stories for the show, or you'd like to be a guest on the show. Shoot us a line on our contact us section, and we'll do what we can to get you or your ideas on the show. Visit our sponsor, Rockwell Time, at rockwelltime.com. Use the code CX4MX, save 10% off your purchase. Rockwell makes all kinds of apparel, outdoorsy stuff like safety rated sunglasses, watches, and snow and other type of outdoorsy stuff. Support us on Patreon. Your patronage helps us again make these episodes, maintain our gear, and patrons get exclusive stuff like access to Discord and then discount to merch once we get our shop online, and makes us like expand and do other stuff like go to conventions and get and maintain better gear.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great one. Take care.